All right, welcome back everybody to FinTech Fridays. We're going to veer off the FinTech conversation a little bit. I've got a returning guest joining me, Ryan Cotter. Ryan, last time you were on, we were talking about your real estate rumble in Greater Chicago, and obviously I think we talked maybe a week or so before the event, and so you had another successful event. But during our conversation, I was super interested in kind of your day job.
The day job, right?
Yeah, and I thought, I spend a lot of time, and my company, we spend a lot of time trying to educate the greater lending community and maybe loan officers, at a local level, on the importance of using financial education, financial literacy to help more people in a loan officer's community and help expand home ownership. And you've kind of taken it to a different level based on kind of what I'm learning about you and your business strategy in Greater Chicago. Yes, you focus on financial education and financial literacy, but when I say you take it to another level, like you're bringing actionable strategies and tools to communities and to prospective homeowners that frankly probably wouldn't have access to this knowledge to get into home ownership and not just be a homeowner, but to start to build wealth through real estate. And so I thought this would be a useful conversation to share with our network, because I think this model, this strategy is deployable, in any market where there's a certain type of housing stock. So that's a long entryway into this conversation, but let's just talk about your day job as an originator, kind of how you started, what got you into the business, and then we'll dive into this house hack strategy of yours.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so right out of college, I've been on construction sites since I was 10 years old. I always joked that when I was a little kid, I'd get up Saturday morning and not watch cartoons. I'd watch This Old House. So I always knew I liked real estate, right? So then when I went to college and got my internships in finance, right out of 1 year of college, I bought my first multifamily, like I bought a floor flat. So I always tell people, like, everything that I tell everybody about, I was the original lab rat, right? I don't give people advice on anything that haven't done myself multiple times and to a certain degree have mastered. I'm always still learning, right? But what I'm telling you about the actionable steps that you should take, it's because I took them, and the benefit has been amazing, right? So, like you said, Chicagoland area, born and raised. And Chicago has a beautiful, array of property stock, and the beautiful buildings from gray stones, brick structures, frame, bungalow. It's a beautiful landscape. And my system, again, started with being somebody in finance, finding the little nuances, taking advantage of them, messing up for sure, right? On them, and then refining them, and then becoming better at it, and then expanding it, right? So we talk a lot about some terms that within the real estate community have a negative stigma associated with them. FHA, 203K, acquisition renovation loan, right? Credit towards closing costs, like things that would generally make a seller scared, listing agents scared, and we've just done it in a
I want to I want to emphasize something because, and I think you're getting to this.
Yeah,
I don't know that the sellers get scared. The sellers are told to be scared by their listing agent. Is
correct.
that fair to say?
Fair. It's fair. And I mean, you see, like we see it hidden in plain sight all the time in listing sheets where the financing options, preferred options are cash or conventional financing, which is
Yeah.
code for no FHA. Don't
Right.
bring us this FHA offer. But I've just been able to use this thing like a very surgical scalpel in finance and show people how to duplicate what I've done. And the success stories are phenomenal. People that put together portfolios and you're leveraging the financing, they're getting money to fix it up. But again, it goes back to the property stock, and we'll get into the
Yeah.
nuances of the hack, but it's right in front of you. There's no special program. There's no special ticket you got to punch. It's just sitting right in front of you. You just got to take advantage of it.
And most loan originators have access to FHA products, right? That's your point. It's right there on your shelf, in inventory, ready for you.
Yeah, it's a tool in the tool shed that 95% of loan officers never pick up.
Yeah. So let's get into it, because you've kind of branded it as well, right? What do you call your system?
I call it the 4-3-2-1 steps to financial freedom. Now, I've heard people call it and 4-3-2-1 hack, and I'll get the explanation behind it and the reasoning behind it. But I've heard other people have a similar system or do something like that. I did it though. I mean, I did it. So they talk about it and they I wish I would have done this, right? This is a common phrase I hear when people talk about it, but I actually did it. So I bought my first building, bought a 4-flat. And I just wanted the income producing component. I was young, single, lived in one unit, rented out the other 3, and rented out a couple of bedrooms to college buddies. So I was really cash flow positive. And when you don't have a housing payment and you don't go blow that extra money that you pay to have that roof over your head, like we all have to do, you save up money pretty quickly. Right?
Yeah.
Then I was able to save enough money to buy the building down the street, then the building behind me. And the reason why I say 4-3-2-1 is because if you buy a 4-unit property first, okay, they are going to believe it's owner occupied. Owner occupancy is the key to this, right? You got to live in the property. So you move into the 4-flat, and then you create equity over time, or by using a 2 or 3K tool. Fannie and Freddie have their acquisition renovation loan. Use something. Take a home equity line, right? Do the work yourself, right? You create equity, and then you're able to refinance out of the FHA loan, because you're only allowed one FHA loan as your primary residence. So you refinance that into a conventional mortgage. Now you've created equity. There's some advanced classes. I won't get into that right now, but you just refinance. It's called BRRRR. You buy, you renovate, you refinance, and you repeat, right? So you use the FHA tool to do that. Then you freed up the FHA again, and then you go buy a 3-flat, because these gatekeepers of money, they're called underwriters, right? Doesn't matter what I say. If the underwriter doesn't believe it, your loan gets denied. Okay, that's it. Turned down. But if you're going from a 4-flat to a 3-flat to a 2-flat to a single family, underwriters will believe that trajectory, because that makes sense. I'm dealing with 3 tenants now. I'm going to go to a 3-flat where I'm only going to deal with 2 tenants. Then I'm going to buy a 2-flat. I'm only dealing with 1 tenant. Then I buy my single family, right? A lot of people want to buy that single family first and then start doing this, but you can't, because they're not going to believe, no matter how much financial sense it makes, that you're leaving that single family or condo to buy a multifamily and you're going to live in it. It just doesn't register, with them. So when people tell me hey, oh man, I totally want to do that, but I want to buy this thing, you're not going to, because they're going to look at the next one as an investment property, and you got to put 25% down. You just create a super high barrier to entry. But if you do it this way, a step down, they'll believe it, and you get to use 3.5% down payment the first time, 3.5% down payment the second time, 3.5%, all the way down. And I'll show you how to create good debt, right? There's bad debt and there's good debt, right? There's debt that is tied to an asset that creates income. Good debt, right?
Yeah.
Bad debt. And I don't mean this in any negative way, because when you buy a home, that's very transformational, right? But I look at that as just like another liability, right? Your single family home is not a income producing asset. Yeah, you're not paying somebody else's, you're not paying your landlord's, mortgage. But you read Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and he outlines it the best. And I always tell people, the 2 books, if you're going to go down this path, that you should have already read is The Millionaire Next Door and Rich Dad Poor Dad, because they frame some things for you, and then these tools help you achieve them very, very fast, very fast.
And I want to emphasize. So this podcast is primarily aimed at the mortgage finance industry, and so all kinds of different participants in the industry are watching this, including perhaps underwriters. So I want to I want to frame your 4321 as, yes, the underwriter needs to believe that you're moving from the 4 to the 3 to the 2 to the 1, but this is not a tool for deceiving anybody. This is for the person that's going to start in the 4, move to the 3, move to the 2, and their ultimate goal is to have that single family, their own little private, Idaho as it may be, right?
Yeah.
So
No, and I've been doing this for a long time. So I ran this by like all the way up to HUD, right?
yeah,
To Fannie, to Freddie, you're doing it over time, right?
yes,
You're not,
yeah.
you're not like, last week I bought a 3 flat, this next week I buy. No, this is not a get rich quick scheme. It's a get wealthy over time plan. And in my journey, what I did was I bought that first 4 flat. I put some work into it. I had the skill set, right? A few years later, I had the equity to refinance. And it was a nice place, don't get me wrong, but you learn how to make things better. So when I bought the 3 flat, I had a little bit more knowledge that I could improve that 3 flat, my owner's unit, better than the owner's unit that I left. And same thing with a 2 flat. When time came down, down the road, a couple of years later, that I refinanced, created the equity, and I was going to make my really nice owner's unit on my 2 flat. I had more knowledge to do that, and I was able to use a 2 or 3K even better, right? And every time I refinanced, and said, "Hey, underwriter, I just want to make sure it's clear, like, I'm refinancing this, I'm living in it right now, but I'm going to go buy something, right?"
Right.
And I mean, I can't tell you how many times, like, they're like, "Well, if you don't have anything under contract, you still got to refinance it as your primary residence." I was like, I will refinance this as an investment property if you tell me that's what I need to do, because I'm going to go do this again.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No, I mean, unless you have something under contract, you're living in the property, it's your primary residence, you have to refinance it as your primary residence." So I've gone down that path, and it's not about deceiving. I always tell people, don't cut off your nose to spite your face, right? This is a beautiful tool that you can use over time to create these things. And sometimes people buy a 4 flat and then they're like, "Nah, it's not for me. I'm going to keep this 4 flat, but then I'm going to go buy a single family home."
Sure.
Right? Got one, right? I just use the optics of the 4321, because I love construction.
Yeah.
That's what I did. Again, I checked every box. It was completely transparent on what we were doing, took it up the highest levels to validate that stuff that I say, isn't like time. It's time. It's not like buying 4 properties in a year and calling them all your primary residence. You're going to get caught, and you're going to don't do that, because the tool itself is such an amazing tool that you wouldn't want to risk it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I love the visual, in my mind, kind of thinking about, the 20-something first-time home buyer who's, got a 10 to 12 year horizon, as they start to begin their career. And the fact that in the case of that 4 flat, probably in a lot of cases, and I'm assuming with your experience and how long you've been doing this in your market, you've got great resources and real estate kind of professionals that are scouting and keeping their eyes on markets and communities and properties and alerting you. But you can make this thing, to your point earlier, where as a first-time home buyer, even, you're living in a home that's actually paying you money. You're getting income off of the property. It's not draining your income or your savings.
And I tell everybody that all the younger, loan officers or real estate, and I say this to everybody, like every real estate agent, real estate operation person, every mortgage lender, and every mortgage operations person, if you're not using the 203K yourself personally, you're missing out on the largest employee benefit that you have. I use the analogy, like if it's like working at Macy's, and Macy's tells you like every day, like anything you want to buy in the store, gold, jewelry, boots, furs, anything, it's 1 cent for you.
Yeah.
Whenever you want it. and you never buy anything. It's even better than that because this pays you. It just we've talked about this, like, being a landlord, you roll up your sleeves. I mean, you earn your keep, but it's better trading your time for something that's going to create wealth than trading your time for I wouldn't say an hourly wage, but sitting on the couch, right?
Yeah.
Or doing something where it's not an income producing activity. And if you like it, like, I'm a sicko, right? I'm a junkie. Like, I can't, the missus tells me, like, stop with all these construction projects. Right?
Right.
Like, I need a break. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll take a year or two off. Yeah, I got 5 construction projects going right now. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
But when you love it, like, that's the old phrase, like, if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
Right. Being a landlord, you roll up your sleeves, right? You're going to change a light bulb. You're going to get a phone call from somebody that clogged the toilet at midnight. But as long as you are prepared for that, and the resources that are available out there right now, between, like, I mean, we joked about it. You could YouTube anything, how to
That's
build
right.
a skyscraper. You can YouTube it and learn how to do it. So the resources are there. Contractors can't take advantage of you like they used to, because you got all these other third-party sources that kind of, like, tell you what the quote is,
Yeah.
if you don't want to, like, figure it out yourself. So now more than ever with these tools, I mean, your opportunity for success has only increased with with the advance of technology.
And maybe you correct me if I'm wrong here, but as I think about what we're talking about, I also think this strategy, whether it starts with a floor plat or even a duplex, or even a single family, but the strategy of using some of these financing tools like the 203K as an example is helpful, especially in this market where there's limited inventory,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're not stuck on a certain aesthetic of property that you want to acquire. You could be whatever you want if you
Yeah.
use these tools, because you can acquire and renovate. Right? It's so to me it opens up the a little bit of the inventory challenge in certain markets by being able to look at properties that need a little love and care, and get them to a place that is suitable for an individual or even a small family.
I always tell people, let's go find the ugliest duckling. We're going to make it into a swan for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And how I, basically get people to kind of change their thought process, right? Because 99% of consumers go through it, the home buying process like this. They look at what I like to call bright and shiny pictures on the internet, right? Ooh, I like that kitchen. Ooh, I like that bath. Then they're like, oh, is it in the neighborhood? Is it down the street from my favorite bar or restaurant? Cool. Last thing they go is, can I afford it? What's the numbers, right? And when we go into, like, the multifamily, whether you go, and I have clients that start down that path, but then shift to maybe a value add single family or whatever. But we look at numbers first, right? Numbers don't lie; they have no feelings, right? Once you start doing that, you're changing the way you would normally do something, and it opens up, like you said, that vision changes, right? Like, I don't have to look at bright and shiny because I can make bright and shiny,
Right.
right? I don't need this because I can work with this, right? So just expanding the horizon, and I think every mortgage professional should use a 203K to buy their primary residence, whether that's 1, 2, 3, 4, because you're in the industry, you have leverage. So that's one of the biggest things about the stigma on the 203K. Contractors, they're a little flighty sometimes, right? And if you're not giving them multiple transactions, right? At the end, they could be working on another job and stopping by your place every so often, right?
Yeah.
Even though they're not being paid, they got to keep on, churning the butter, for lack of better words. Um, but, like, real estate professionals, mortgage professionals, you could apply leverage to a contract. Like, hey, you don't want to, you know, dilly dally on my job, do you?
Right.
Because I get your name out there, and not the good way, right?
Right.
And that is powerful. If you're a real estate agent in a real estate company, you could use the guy or the group that's doing the stuff for the owner and everybody else. There ain't no way he ain't going to be on top of your stuff,
Right.
right? And so you're eliminating some of the potential headaches that a consumer may run into, right? And so what I find when I do this for real estate agents, and people, they're like, yeah, no, like my guy was on it and we got it. It was awesome. I want to do another one. Right.
Right.
And so that's the
So
key
how,
to success. It's like, I want to do another one. Like you said, whoa, 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 pump the brakes, calm down, get stabilized. There's this thing called stabilization, right? So get stabilized, live there for a year, then kind of, reevaluate
yeah.
and next steps. All about baby steps.
Well, and it's, especially with limited inventory. So I'm in, greater Detroit, and there's a lot of communities that are very desirable, especially for young first time home buyers. But they're being, these are the properties that are, continually being overbid 30, 40, 50K, right?
Yeah.
And so, if you're 24, 25, 26, even 27 years old, and you ultimately want to be in that community, but but overbidding by 50K is probably not the best economic decision today.
Horrible
Go,
idea.
yeah,
I think it's a terrible idea.
go three towns south. Start in in a multifamily, a duplex, a triplex, a four flat.
Yeah.
Live there, live there for 2 years, and then play the market. If the market opens up in that desired community, then you can make that move. Or maybe it's the next community north of where you're at that you do, you start doing apply the plan. You go from the 4 to the 3, and ultimately maybe in 8 years you're in that desired community. But by the time you're there, you're basically, you're there. I don't want to say for free, but you've kind of paid for the house by the three prior properties.
I'd say more than free. That's not the angle that we're going after. And I'll use a good analogy. So had this couple come to me and they wanted to buy the wife was really dead set on the Lincoln Park condo, and Lincoln Park is a kind of an affluent neighborhood. All the bars and restaurants, and the husband, he had worked for like a construction company. So I'm like, can I just tell you about this? Let me just throw it out there for you. And I started telling about 4321 and stuff like that. And it's like, no, don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like any of interest to me too at all. Cool. All right, just want to throw it out there. As they're looking, well, maybe we'll give this an option. Let's go check out some properties. And they found, like you said, like a few neighborhoods over,
Yeah.
and they bought the 3 flat, fixed it up, rented it, and the area that they were in, that popped, right? So you got A plus areas, and then you got like B plus. Sometimes those B's or C's turn into A's, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times I get people thanking me like years down the road, like, we can't thank you enough. Like,
Right.
you totally changed our lives. Like, we love our place. And the whole adage with that particular client was like, hey, if you do this, when you're not going to get the little box
Yeah.
condo in Lincoln Park that you're only going to get right now, you're going to get a big place in Lincoln Park in about 8 years from now. Little one now, big one later. Which one do
Right.
you want to do? And they ended up staying in that neighborhood and they just bought more stuff because that neighborhood blew up.
Yep.
And yeah, you can still drive to Lincoln Park, right, and go to the restaurants. There's these things called cabs and Ubers, and make your life real simple. But I have legitimately can't tell you how many people that walk them down this path and they actually take it. They realize it pretty quickly. Like, this is a life-changing thing that I
Right.
just took the first bite, and yeah, I'm all about it now.
I love it. This is it's so cool to. I mean, I've always kind of known about these strategies. Clearly, I've been aware of the mortgage products that could support them, but to actually have you come on and kind of share your story, and this is a big part of your business, right? And I'm guessing you've become well known in your community as kind of this financing expert around this strategy, and so you probably have a lot of other professionals who are referring folks your way, and I think
Other
it's
mortgage professionals referring
Yeah.
these deals to me, and I'm like,
Right.
why won't you just learn it? And yeah, like I said, I have a construction background,
Yeah.
from being on construction sites. So I think the biggest piece of this is managing the expectation of the client up front, right? Like, oh, I watched HGTV, and I think you can renovate a house for $35,000. Like, no, you can't. Stop watching
Yeah.
that. It's not.
Yeah. And
It's not accurate.
it never happens in an hour.
No, no, it's not. It's not. None of it's accurate, right? I dissect like, okay, show me the show, and it's funny. I actually watched some of those shows for comedy. Like that's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
comedy. Like I bought it for 150. I put 50 into it. I sold it for 250. I made $50,000. Like, no, you had carrying costs. You did all the work yourself, right?
Right.
You had commissions
Yeah.
that you're not putting on there. You lost money, and like that's the kind of stuff. Like I talked to a lot of HGTV people, actually,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
hosts and stuff like that, and like, oh yeah, all those shows lose money. They all lose
yeah.
money.
Yeah.
They're all in lawsuits because they did the work too quick. You know,
Right.
it's like it's comedy. But once you realize like what a realistic budget is, and you factor it in to what you're looking for, right? It might not take like a week, a month. I mean, you might be looking for 6 to 8 months before you find your first one because
Yeah.
the numbers need to add up because now you know them.
Yeah.
And it's not a race. You don't have to move into that bright shiny condo right now, right? This is all about what's the best investment opportunity for me, and how does it make sense? And yeah, so guys in the industry, they're afraid of them, and it's not for everybody because you really got to enjoy construction, I believe, to like master this completely because you got to. Man, I can tell you, we broke a lot of eggs to make this omelet, and you gotta have that egg on your face and just figure out like no, I'm going to do another one, and the next one's going to be better, and then you develop a system like anything. And now I'm the biggest proponent of like, yeah, we can close 203Ks in 30 days, right? That's your average construction time, or sorry, your actual residential time.
Yeah.
So once you've developed the system to it, and the things, then you know what to look for. Like we're problem solving as soon as the client asks, what do you think of this property? We analyze the property for them. Not even doable. Don't even go look at it. It's not.
Right.
No way, man. Like they're saying it's. I can tell by the pictures, and the pictures are supposed to make it look good. And when you get out there, it's going to be worse. And I've had instances where a real estate agent has come to me and said, just like the HGTV, is like, I look at all the pictures that are available. I Google Earth it. I do a very kind of like forensic analysis of the property while we're on the phone talking about the property. And I can be like, how much did you think your construction budget was? And this lady was like $75,000. I'm like, I'm not seeing how that is even possible. I'm thinking like 2.25, 300,000. Like, how can you say that without going on and actually looking at the property? I just looked at all the pictures, and I know those are making it look good. And you got exposed walls. Yeah, I see subfloor. I'm seeing at a good day it's 225. I'll go out there. I put in that 300,000, and you think it's going to get done for 75? Like you're just not dealing in the right mindset. And if that's the case, like you're just wasting everybody's time. And like I couldn't go and tell like the listing agent that the agent that had the property under contract, who told them that they were going to get a 203K, and I'm a real estate agent. I know how to do this stuff. I couldn't go to the listing and go, this contract's going nowhere, and this should not be a direct reflection of the 203K, right? The 203K is a great tool. You need the right client with the right expectations going in there. You don't have that right now. And so they're going to waste your time for about 6 months, and then you're going to hate the FHA 203K because you think it was the 203K's fault, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So that's the industry that we're in. So being an expert and being able to tell people, hey, how many testimonials do you want from the top real estate agents in Chicago? Because I could give them to you. That if I say we're going to get it done, we're going to get it done because I don't take deals that can't get done because I know it's a waste of time.
So let's close on this. I have a question for you. As a mortgage loan officer, how often are you having to talk about rates based on your expertise and your system?
I'd be shocked if every conversation didn't evolve around rate to some degree. But when you create, like, I'm helping people create wealth. It's
Yeah.
for me, it's looking at a bigger picture. So I always tell people, like, rates and prices fluctuate like this, right?
Yeah.
And buying real estate, you buy it, you underwrite it, your numbers, and then if the rates go down, you get to retrade that stock,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You keep the value, right, and retrade it at a lower thing. Like, you don't get to, like, sell your 1,000 shares of IBM stock for $500 and then resell it when it hits 1,000.
Right.
Only in real estate are you able to do this. So I just put the big picture of, like, don't look at the rate, make sure the payment works, and because the rate could change and the payment could get better, right?
So maybe I have another question. Same thread, different question. How often are you shopped against another loan officer
doing a 2 or 3K? No, never. I mean,
Exactly.
there's like
Exactly.
5 guys there's like 5 people in Chicago that actually know how to do it right. Like, if I hear, like, what are their names or something like that, and somebody's like, hey, would you quote? I'm like, no, you're in good hands. They're in good hands.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're in good hands. You're going to be fine. If it's not
Right.
those 5 people, then yeah, at whatever rate you're getting quoted, it doesn't matter, because if it blows up, it doesn't matter. And I can tell
That's
you
right.
how it's going to blow up.
Yeah.
Even before it happens. That's part of why we're special. I know that anybody else doing this that doesn't tell you, I'll give them like 5 key things. Like, did you know this? Did you know this? Did you know this? And they're like, I've never heard that. That means the person that you're talking to doesn't know what they're doing, because those 3 things are the most important that you should know
Right.
before you even went out to look at that property. And so, people come like, what's the rate? Like, it's this, right? But
Yeah.
it's a bigger value add. Plus, I'm going to show you some other tricks along the way that really put the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
How you take a
That's
home equity line and pay off your college debt, right? After you've done this multifamily, right? How you take
Yeah.
out that home equity line and then use that for your down payment, right? How you should do your taxes, because if you don't do them the right way, you're going to shoot yourself. So there's a bunch of other stuff that I could say, like, I mean, you want monkeys, you pay peanuts. You want an expert, you're going to pay for it.
right. No, I love it. And I think what it does in my mind is it reinforces that, become a specialist, become expert in something. What you shared, Ryan, is a hack that's great for consumers, but this is a lesson for loan officers to kind of think about their community, their market, where there's opportunities for them to be part of the solution and differentiate themselves by being expert on, some product, some program, some system. So I love what you're doing. Super exciting. I think it's very helpful, obviously, for the communities that you're serving, and just keep rocking it. We're gonna check back and see how you're doing in a bit.
AI ain't coming for me, man.
That's right, exactly. They're never gonna replace
We're not
you.
gonna. I got plenty of runway between me and AI, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, thanks so much for
Thanks for
coming on
having
and
me.
sharing.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody. Come back next Friday.